I don't know what to say. It's been a long road, getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally near. And I can feel the change in the wind right now. Nothing's in my oh damn it no, that's not the right song lyrics to kick off the ending. They're not gonna hold me down no more no. Show some respect. It's time to talk about the final episode of Deep Space Nine on the rules of acquisition.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Rules of Acquisition, a podcast where we have gone through every single episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the greatest of the Star Treks, and a prequel to TV that is done later in a manner. Wow, that's how you're gonna end it. The final episode, and that's what I'm going with. Anyways, my name is Wade Bowen, and with me, as always, is James Nolan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's all right. And Hugh Crawford.
Hey.
Yeah, this is it. This is the final. We're at the end of all the Deep Space Nines. We're going through what you leave behind.
Real quick, I only had a chance to watch the first 60 minutes of the episode, which I thought went by relatively tightly. You know, all things go. Good, solid C work. And I assume, and I was glad that it didn't descend into weird Bible Man, level theatrics. So, I assume that the rest of that stood for the rest of the 30 minutes I didn't watch, so tell me about it.
Yeah. Bible Man, you say, starring Charles in Charge's friend, that Bible Man? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just to let you off the hook, yeah, that didn't happen at all. So,
cool.
There you go.
All right. Well, this is, as Wade was getting to, this is episode 25 of season 7. This is What You Leave Behind, the last episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It originally aired on June 2nd, 1999. And hoo boy. I was thinking about all the shows, the great shows that this is closer to than the present, like right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like Deadwood premieres, 5 years later?
Yeah. No, not even that.
No, it's not even
3.
that far. It's
Well, it's
3.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Battlestar Galactica is 3 years later?
Mm-hmm. If that,
right?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
If that, I mean, there's Flight of the Concords was I own that because I own it because it came out on iTunes in 2007 and I bought that first season. So I was looking at through my iTunes account and that was that's 2007. That's 8 years later than this, which means the premiere of Flight of the Concords is closer to the finale of Deep Space Nine than we are to the finale of Flight of the Concords. That's what I'm saying. That's
this show ended and TV I guess just started changing immediately. It really changed the landscape, didn't it?
Well,
this show did it, right?
Yeah. Boy, I was such a summer child when I was.
And I guess wait a minute. The West Wing, those first the salad days of the West Wing were
that was 99.
Yeah,
that was
concurrent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
the Sopranos were mostly concurrent. Or, I mean, I think they started in late 99. I may be wrong on that, but it's 99 or 2000. So
right. Yeah, the Sopranos is just starting up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna get to the IMDb description real quick because. I got distracted because of the 1999 when I usually read the date.
No, that's a very that's kind of blown.
I was dating my wife by then, so that makes me feel old now that we're talking about it.
Man, I was that's a little personal information.
And I know that none of us were watching this as it aired.
Nope. I caught up later.
No,
Yep.
I maybe watched a few and I had dropped off. I watched and I was like, oh shit, worse on the show now.
We had all I had started out with it and then I dropped off after very early on because just teenage life into adult life.
Sure.
Busy.
Yeah.
I
think maybe I'd finally gotten busy by the time this year. No, sorry, that's
this is.
I'm not sure though. It could have gone on either side of that. I'm not sure.
The summary As the Dominion War comes to an end, Dukat goes to the Pa Wraiths to awaken them. Meanwhile, the Dominion turn on the rebellion Cardassians, destroying them city by city. Will the Rebel Alliance prevail over the Dominion? Will Garak and the Rebellion stop them before the destruction of Cardassia? Will Sisko stop the Pa Wraiths from rising? That is the last episode's description. The episode before that, because we're combining them. I'm sorry, I didn't. No, well, that's it. It's the Dogs of War, and then what we leave behind.
This just has one. Like, I don't even think that's considered a healthy part 1 and part 2 of it. So like,
I think it's just one long TV movie, really, kind of.
Yeah.
This was okay. Cards on the table. This wasn't as bad as I remembered it. When I watched it the first time, I was really bothered by how it ended.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, like James sort of alluded to before.
Yeah, I mean, there's
the cheesy Hellfire Bible Man stuff at the end. And then sort of like the hasty exit of Sisko, just like in general, like he was like
right.
He was so
like,
anti-climate.
Quick, I gotta go, and then he's there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they jumped into like Discovery timeline, like oh, we got to be there. Well, there in a minute, like
sure. I mean, we can unpack all that later. I'm just my point was this was not as bad as I remember. Some of these characters were actually served with better exits than I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there's some definite weak sauce parts of this episode, Firecase, but overall, like even for that stuff, you even watching it, you're like, well, this could have been better, but it's still, I found it still, even with the faults, it was emotionally effective as a closer. I finished watching it and I was like, well, that wasn't perfect, but I'm sad to see my space friends go now.
Well, I mean, there are some characters that were never treated well throughout the entire series, and Dax and Bashir. Were mishandled for seven years respectively, on and off.
Sure. And
a few times each character might have had their day in the sun. I mean, I know some fans ended up liking Bashir for some reason. Like Bashir is a fan favorite, and after watching this and doing this podcast for 3.5 years, I still do not understand why Bashir is anybody's.
I don't either.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Like
he had some good moments in this episode. But yeah, I understand.
No, that's.
I think he did.
I
think Alexander Siddiq had some good moments in this episode.
This episode is where Julian breaks up with his boyfriends.
Yeah,
that's what this is. Julian breaks up with his boyfriends,
or his boyfriends break up with him.
Right. Yes, his boyfriends break up with him.
And I found that a little bit, effective.
I thought it had more to say about his boyfriends, and he was just kind of watching it happen to him.
Yeah, which is fine. Finally let shit just happen to him, and instead of because it's about O'Brien being sad about leaving his friend behind, and that's more interesting than watching Julian be sad.
I thought Garrett was well served because
they gave him a
they
gave him like a something to think that wasn't fucking cranberry sauce, so
yeah. It was everything. It was it was complicated, like Garrett himself. His feelings towards how everything ended.
Sure,
this was not like a happy ending for him. This was something else.
It's bittersweet. Yeah, he finally gets to go home, and it's like it's home. It's not there.
And it's this sort of faith in his ideals are shook, and that's never like a pretty thing. Deconversions are not nice.
Yeah.
And so I think that give him that sort of beat, and that he really is kind of like isolated or removed from his culture in some way, and that's interesting.
And overall I'd say almost Garak as a character might be the most complete, well-rounded arc out of anybody in the whole like who he is at the beginning when they introduce him. He's in exile and he's bummed and he wants to go back. They don't have to rewrite and redefine who Garak is that much when you compare where he starts his journey at the beginning of the show and where he ends with this. It's a pretty effective kind of arc.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that probably...
That's a great point.
I've been reflecting back on a lot of, what's my attachment to Deep Space Nine and what is the nature of my attachment. And one of them is that they really served the secondary characters, tertiary characters almost, really, really well. I mean, you think of the great characters like Martok and Garak. I mean, Garak is a tertiary or a secondary character. He's a Jake level character.
Yep.
And well, Jake's not real served at all, but
But Jake's got top billing, and Garak is a special guy. Yeah.
But that is like a feather in their cap. They did a good job of creating memorable secondary and tertiary characters that shined and had arcs. The primary characters, on the other hand, but we'll get to that, but
Yeah. But yeah, Garak
that we had more attachment to Garak than we did Dax in this episode is rather jarring. And yeah, I'll leave that there.
Yeah, Dax, none of us is going to argue that any Dax was well served in this episode, I don't think. But yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, any other overall thoughts about it?
No, I mean, I liked how definite it was for the endings for some people.
It was.
I thought that, this is where they're going to put Worf. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Worf and, like James said, Worf and Martok got their scenes together with the Admiral Ham sandwich. And it seemed, I do like the one part where Sisko's irritated and tells everybody, let's get on with it. He's talking to his boss and the chancellor of the Klingon Empire. And he's a captain of this, a crummy little ship. I just thought that was...
It was pretty fun, yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
Spineless Admiral Ham sandwich can just get pushed around by a captain.
Yeah. He's like, we've already... everybody says we're going to lose the amount of life we'll lose.
Yeah.
And
he's like that
Sisko's
boss.
Just do it. And he's like, oh, okay.
He's like that boss that is just failed upwards and just I don't know what to do. And then his underling, the guy below him, is just look, I'm the guy that just runs shit for real because I know. And it goes, I don't know. And he's like, okay, I'll do what you say.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of gather my thoughts on it. I don't know if I have a sort of a total sort of grasp on it. I'm left with the renewed feeling of that that Sisko isn't they sort of muffed the handling of Sisko in the end.
Oh, they did.
And so that I don't know. I think that is more stark to me in this sort of reviewing, and as I got to the ending, and as I just kind of watched it, and so I don't, so it's sort of, I do think that you're right. I think that things are well handled. I think that a lot of the story beats work really well as the action war thing in the beginning. I think it was tightly edited at the first 60 minutes, like I said, and then I felt like then they just had what about all this other stuff? And it was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just very poor served to do something so big as to turn a Starfleet captain into a space god. To do it in that way and deploy it in that way seemed, I don't know.
He's just a pawn of fate. He's not even...
Yeah.
Right. He's just fulfilling somebody else's plan for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt to me we know what Sisko's going to end game is going to be, and they're all right, well, we know that, and we're going to set that aside. Now we're going to write this Dominion War end, and they do a certain amount of work to pull that off, and then they're okay, we got that out of the way. Oh, we have this stuff we said we're doing with Sisko, and then let's just throw it together. And you're right, it does feel kind of dashed off, and it's not he's not really well served because it's we knew this was what we're going to do, and now we're doing what we knew we were going to do, and it's well, that's just, it's half baked, and it's not great.
Yeah.
And part of me was do you think they thought, well, we said before, did they thought they were going to get a movie, or they hoped they might get a movie?
I don't
know. This feels pretty definite.
Yeah, not according to everything on the end. So they were going to...
I feel like they knew that they weren't going to get a movie, but maybe they're holding out a little bit of hope that maybe it would.
Yeah, nobody was talking about doing a movie.
Yeah, but maybe if we really leave it like this, maybe and if it, for some reason it picks up.
If you're asking about the return thing, that actually is a story that Sisko says I'll return or whatever.
Yeah.
That was
him being pissed about him being.
that was Avery Brooks being pissed about the ending on a black father abandoning his son.
Yeah.
And filmed it and then made them change it. And the added that in was the compromise. So
Yeah. He does all this work where he has this representation on screen that nobody else is doing, and still nobody's doing.
Right.
Still, like 20 years later, we hardly ever see, his,
unless
people of color.
Unless it's niche people of color shows.
Or,
and I hate to call that niche, but yeah.
Or it's, I'll tell you what does it, the Flash on the CW.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's weird. It's the black father who's also his adopted son's father-in-law. That gets weird and squicky, but they don't. It's fine.
Yeah. There's part of Flash that takes place on the Pornhub website. So.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, it's his adopted sister, and
I'm
then,
your stepsister.
and he calls him dad, but he's also his father-in-law. But that's fine. But that show is not one we do a podcast on, but there's a character on that show named Sisko, and the writers are clearly nerds that are big Deep Space Nine fans.
What? Really? Well, that wasn't the case when we started this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
When we were pointing...
Yeah, are we sure that the character in the book's not named in the comic book? Like, are we sure that it's...
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, they're big nerds that write on that show for whatever, and I'm pretty sure they're big Deep Space
But it's not common... Like, my point was it's not commonplace to the point where...
Oh, yeah.
I like, for him to be outraged is fully justified.
For sure.
Well, they don't even have a fucking scene in this episode, I don't think.
Who, Jake and... Yeah.
They don't have like an...
Yeah.
Did the writing... Were there any people of color on the writing staff?
Oh, fuck no. I mean, I guess Renee Ashabari is Cuban, but... So he's of Latino heritage, but...
right. They didn't have any...
Man, talk about a community that's underserved on Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
the Latino or no, the black?
Yeah, both. But I mean, Latino, I guess, is what I meant.
Non-white males. That community is.
I mean, well, they're doing better now about representation, but they're poorer in other areas.
But for 30 years, bald men had better representation on Star Trek than Latino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's where I'm at on this, and so I'm left with, I think to the surprise of no one, with all of the sort of critical sort of threads that I've been carrying, but I think at the end I was just sort of, it's to be such a mess at the ending, and it was clear that they were going to be, that they just didn't build to this rather fantastical resolution, and then to have to resort to the level of filmmaking that they resorted to in those last scenes in the fire cave, it's a bummer. I mean, it's not it's a bummer, but it's not like a Game of Thrones level bummer, but it is sort of, because Sisko is ill-served in those moments. There is actually a technical problem in that area which I want to know more about, but it said that in the fight, when Avery Brooks and Mark Alaimo are fighting, he put Mark Alaimo in the hospital for a while.
Oh shit! When he's going to the bottom and fighting the Balrog, that fight.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like he said he accidentally punched him, and Mark Alaimo had like 2 days off.
Oh shit!
Like they had to or 3 or 4.
I was actually gonna say there was one actual punch that looked so good, and I was like, that's weird for Star
and then
Trek
the other ones looked so bad.
And then Sisko, then Avery Brooks said, well, I have to leave because I have a previous engagement, and so left and couldn't wait for Mark Alaimo to heal, so we had to come in and pick it up afterwards and not film together. And that seems like that might be like an explanation for maybe other things that happened on set.
That makes sense.
But they didn't film it together after that fight. And so it is kind of like a edit room stitch up, so they're having to use probably imperfect shots and imperfect matches. And I get that, but
yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, it's some of the worst stuff in the show. There is even that moment where she picks up the book and then like a grip over the camera, like pulls it out of her hands.
Yeah.
And like you're just kind of
they
like
cut to, and they have a jump cut to like Ducat holding the book.
So like yes, old early Uncle Milty sort of
This
tricks.
did have some of the best matte paintings though.
It did.
Oh, those sweet CD-ROM scenes in the fire caves were my favorite. But
Well, I'm talking like Cardassia Destroyed and stuff.
no, there were some good stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did create quite a few unique shots. They did repurpose quite a few shots from specifically Generations. I think there's a whole Klingon sequence in the battle that is lifted from Generations. And there's there's a lot of elements that they took from other things. So
Yeah.
So it's not all like you may have seen this stuff before.
Right. They use any cuts from Wrath of Khan like they've used before?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so. But yeah,
I mean, yeah. But the space fights, especially for the time, ship space fights are pretty good. Mm-hmm. They're more dynamic than any space fights on Discovery. Well, never mind. I don't need to bring that up. Season 2 ended with a bunch of pew pew pew, and it was like, all right, but this was better.
Yeah, no, and that part was well done, where you had the, when you're doing the war movie thing, where the guys on the ground, the yellow team and blue team have these jobs, so that red team, so that this is there, and like so they did a good job of sort of setting all of that up, and the Damar stuff. I mean, I was really. That's not.
Oh yeah. I
don't want to like roll my eyes at that. That's not easy stuff to write or execute effectively. That kind of level of military, and so it, they did a really good job of that and bringing all of those stories together. That's the storyline that works. I mean, in the culmination of the Dominion War is a storyline that works the most, where the most threads in the 10-part epic were tied together. I think satisfactory with 2 clear dangling threads.
Right.
What was what at the end of the day? What was the point? I guess of all of it, of the Dominion War itself. For what what was it? Did they just because it would be neat to see what the Federation was like during wartime?
Part of that, and then just like what happens when the Federation comes up against another entity as big as it.
Yeah,
with
the Dark Mirror thing.
Yeah,
well, okay. So
But why war? Like, why have a...
Because Gene said they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They couldn't have wars. I don't know.
Yeah, there's this... Okay, so I am halfway thinking... we're recording this after the Picard trailer came out, and which said it's a big Borg story. Or at least they're feigning that to be the case. And then I'm thinking, like...
It's probably the case when you look at the character.
Yeah.
So, the Borg... maybe ruined Star Trek.
Sure.
Because it made it about like the big villain, because they had because when they came on that episode with the Borg, I mean that's a truly relentless villain in that episode, or in all of those episodes. Like they're well executed in all of those episodes, and are truly relentless. And it seemed like it got in the DNA of Star Trek after that Star Trek has big bads.
Right.
They're always going up against the galactic empire, or whatever. And so I know that Khan maybe made a case for that, but Khan was like a one-on-one.
He was a character.
Right. Yeah, he was an actual person with a story, but not like this sort of like a villain group. And I just wonder if the point of the Dominion was just to outdo what you did before,
Yeah.
Just Borg, but more. And so I think
we talked about the Dominion and what they were.
I like the Dominion as an idea for a bad guy and story possibilities more than I'd like the Maquis, for example. Because it is interesting. They're basically space gangsters, so it's kind of interesting.
Well, I think that
going to war with them.
It doesn't say, they don't have much, they don't have a reason to be. At least on the Borg side, the sort of point was that it was
Well, I guess
it was organic. It was a natural thing. They were
right. Well, the reason was like they are the only liquid creatures in existence, and so they have to take over everything to ensure that they're not eradicated.
Right,
yeah,
right.
overprotection.
Yeah, their fear of being eradicated and their history has led them to be,
and that tied
fascism,
in,
basically.
and then that tied in somehow. In the end, I'm not saying it didn't with the scene between Odo and his grandma he fucked, but it is
still
not
that scene. We should talk about that scene a little bit because there was some awkward vibes on that scene for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into start breaking scenes down in a minute.
There's some. I mean, we don't.
But no, I was thinking that you're right that there's not like a bigger idea that like there's not like a point where you're like, well, are they right? Even as much as over the time you're like, no, this Thanos thing is dumb. But like Thanos had an argument and had a point of view that you had to kind of like stop and like sort of really, and sort of think about.
I think the Dominion has a point of view that's recognizable. I don't think they're flying blind.
But it's not engaging. It's just we're overprotective. Yeah. And so therefore we're bad guys. I mean, that's not like, there's not a secondary philosophy to that. They're not like we view the world this way and we want to create the universe in this image. And that this is the benefits of why we would want to do that. And that it comes from we view the world fundamentally differently than you do, Federation. And then, there's scenes where you go like, wow, maybe that sex grandma's got a point. But that never really happened. It was just like, we're overprotective. And
I get that. I see their point,
bad.
though. I mean, I don't agree with it, but where it led up to it, I mean, as much as I think it works as well or as Thanos' dumb shit, honestly. But it makes more sense to me than Thanos' does, because it
makes sense for them as a person, but there's not like a bigger thought there.
Yeah.
The thought is, wow, these people are vulnerable and don't want to be eradicated. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not there's not like anything to engage with there.
What's so much more engaging about? I'm hung up because you said Thanos, because he thinks that he can save, because that's such a dumb.
Because he thinks
thing.
I'm not arguing the merits of the idea, but it is an argument that the universe is overpopulated and it needs to be culled, like the way you cull gardens.
Are finite.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's an argument. That's an argument.
But I mean, to go back, that argument is just as strong to me as we have to protect ourselves.
I'm not arguing which one's stronger or not stronger. I'm just saying that's an argument. Well, the Dominion don't have there's not like a...
That is an argument. I mean, well...
Okay, let me just make... if the Dominion had a fundamental different view towards organisms, that organisms have to sort of approach oneness, and the only way they can do that is if their molecules can do that. So they take over alien races and not just subjugate them and put them under their subjugation, but then also try to tinker with them to make them liquid or to experience this sort of thing, to sort of help elevate them. Sure. Then that's at least... these are just off the top of my head, but that's a world view. That's a fundamental view of the world. If the Federation wasn't there, they would still be thinking that.
I agree that's a worldview, but I don't see where they don't have one. Sorry.
What do the Dominion think they are offering the Cardassians?
It's just a protection racket.
Yeah,
they're just gangsters.
Exactly. They're just
but it's still a point of view. I mean, you're saying that they don't have this one thing doesn't mean they don't have a...
Well, they don't have an ideology to offer anything.
There's nothing for me to think about. It's a protection racket.
Yeah.
It's just it's like strength, might is right type of thing. Like, we're strong, so you need to fall in line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that appeals to a whole fucking lot of people, though. I think
you're trying to make my point into something that's not. I'm saying that it would be nice if they had that, not that they don't have a personal point in the story.
Right. I thought you were saying that they didn't have anything. I was like, well, they have something. It's not what you want it to be.
Yeah. So I wasn't saying that. I was saying that they don't have a secondary idea.
Yeah.
Something that we can sort of chew over. I mean, the Borg kind of do. The Vulcans, but no, but the Klingons don't, and
yeah, well,
the Romulans don't.
I guess we just disagree because I think you can chew over it. I can understand it as a emotional truth that to how people exist in the world and extrapolated large and used. That's what the Dominion kind of do.
Yeah.
Well, there's still I don't quite understand why they sent a bunch of other changelings into space if their whole reason for existing is that they don't trust anybody, so they send a bunch of their young out into space. That seems kind of sort of like I never quite understood that.
Well, they sent them out a while ago to get information. You can't just pull, and you have to send feelers out.
I guess we never met any other changelings that could like tell us of their experience with information gathering or whatever. Like
we met that one.
I don't know. It seems like it was
a missed opportunity.
It was a dropped storyline, really.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someone on, I believe it was Solid Made Gins in some sort of interview or on something, said something along the lines of, well, they sent these people to learn about the world, and they learned that, Odo came and taught them that they could trust the solids, I guess. Uh-huh. But that seems like really?
That's one of the main reasons for the end of the war, is that's what he did. By blinking with her or whatever at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that wasn't there.
I'm saying it's not satisfying, but yeah.
I think it's...
Even the Goo Grandma seemed pretty blasé about it after it happened.
I think it's just that, well, I don't know, that worked better for me than it did for you, I guess. It happened quick, and it's quick, but that's what blinking is like, just transfers information immediately. And understanding or whatever, but if it doesn't sell you as well to you, that's fine.
All right.
No, I was saying that was he was saying that there was not a reason for or they never gave us a reason for why the Dominion did that, and then she sort of completed the circle that they learned from Odo that there are some solids that can be trusted, which right. I'm just saying that's not.
Yeah, and then. By that's what's so great about Odo and Kira's relationship, by him learning how to love like that, and that's what teaches the link of the love, because he could love a solid, and that's part of it, I guess. Blah blah blah. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway. Well, we're gonna break down the scenes because I have a lot of Kira related thoughts to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it just opens with the post-coital. Shirt off, it's a little bit of for the ladies action with the naked Bashir, and
yeah, all right.
He's been smudging all her spots, especially on her neck and her boob area. But I was like, I didn't know spots smudged. Well, they do in this scene. Whatever. And she's like, yeah, go tell Mile about how you got laid, and it's like whatever. And, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, so
we don't need to unpack this too much. It's just ridiculous pillow talk that nobody asked for.
Right.
It goes on for a long time, and I felt like there was supposed to be a reveal that they fucked, but that was sort of implied by the end of the last episode. So I mean, it's nice to give it, but they spend a bit of time on it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they don't have any they just don't have anything for that character.
Yeah, I mean they have. Yeah,
surprise.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah,
that's it. It's in keeping with the
previous
whatever episodes.
Right. So I mean, there's that, and then they give he thought you can have Earth, and Wei-Yun's like, but I thought it was mine. It's like, yeah, come on, I'm just feeding him a line, whatever. But he looks so disappointed, a little dejected.
It's like she said that it's like that line from Game of Thrones where Daenerys' brother is, I let his whole horde fuck you if it got me a crown. Right. Like that was
yeah.
oh little Wei-Yun.
Yeah, right. They're getting ready to go to battle, and Julian's got a shit-eating grin on his face that Brian tells him to wipe off, and Worf is happy for Ezri, but
I am going to kill him.
Oh, we know now that O'Brien has gotten a tenured Trek offer.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he's gonna leave when the war is over.
Right, and he can't bear to tell his boyfriend because it's gonna break his heart.
Can we talk about how, like, what if the feelings of a show that they didn't nail is the feeling that they're not coming back?
Oh, when they're going off to
Like,
win
it
the war,
really
they're
did.
definitely going to win.
It really did.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was just wearing their plot art. Like, they were like, oh, let me look at your plot armor. Yeah, like, they looked nothing at this character. Like,
Right.
I mean, they were probably talking as if these are issues, but it was just,
Right.
it wasn't in their eyes.
The pillow talk, they have like one moment where Ezri and Julian are like, we'll promise you'll come back. I promise. And he's like, yeah, I believe that you promise and you believe you're going to be true on it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like that, yeah.
Yeah, we talked the Ducat Kai wins. That's pretty bad. Her realization that she fucked Hitler, and he just shows back up. He's been a blind beggar on the streets, and he's like, "All right, I'm better now." And she's like, "Okay, you're better now."
I'm ready to join the plot again.
Right? Like, I've spent my time in timeout, and now we're just gonna pick up. I was like, I don't know, this whole like, oh, we got to pepper this in here, but. Yeah, it was kind of weak sauce. And then go fish with Vic. Oh, we haven't seen Vic in so long. I know y'all were missing him.
God.
Quark is playing with Vic because I can't, have the final scenes be in Quark's bar. It's got to be at Vic's. And
Yeah, did you see who was in Vic's bar?
Who?
Ira Stephen Bear.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
of
the
course.
production. I think Mike Pillar was too. Like the production staff was in the. It was the. It's like The Office when The Office ended, and that like the little rap party, like the people that were from the documentary were the real producers of the show.
Yeah, when Quark is playing and the band keeps walking behind to go on stage, I was like, fuck, don't play a song, please don't play a song. They didn't play a song, thank God. Then they saved it for later. But yeah, it's like, how many songs am I gonna have to endure in this? Just one. That was kind of Vic, whatever. The fire caves. Oh, I never took time to visit the fire caves. Who cares?
Didn't Sisko go to them? Or no, O'Brien? Didn't O'Brien and then Keiko go? Didn't Keiko go to them?
There was a time where...
Because Keiko came back as a pirate from something.
Right. Maybe she did go to the fire caves?
Fire camp, summer camp.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a time where Sisko was going to take Jake to the fire caves and he didn't want to go early on.
Yeah.
Who could blame him?
Yeah, he wanted to hang out with his friends.
That sounds like fucking lame, Dad.
Yeah, it turns out they are. Yeah. The center needs reinforcement. Its weakness. She picks up when Salome, sex grandma, picks up Broca by the neck. It's like, okay, well, clearly Broca's doing all the work.
Yeah.
They're in the basement.
Oh, we get more of Garak and his Gram.
Yeah, Mila.
governess.
And, yeah. They got light sticks. Oh, man, the scenes are so fucking dark in there. It's like, all right. And then the savior of Cardassia is going to be a former Bajoran terrorist. How ironic. But then to get back at the Cardassians, sex grandma, I guess, basically reduces Lakarian City to ashes, and there's like 2 million men, women, and children that are just wiped out. And then Garak has a very dramatic, intense, if you chop off the snake's head.
Chop off a snake's head and the body will die.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then her wiping out that city is basically what drives the Cardassians to be like, wait a minute, fuck this, and they all start kind of rebelling.
Is there only one... Is she the only changeling in the Alpha Quadrant?
I think so. Since they got stuck, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Since the wormhole closed down, the wormhole that does the wormhole show up at all in this entire fucking episode?
No.
They don't use that wormhole effect once, which is weird.
That is totally weird.
Yeah, right. You've got just copy paste. I know it can't cost you to reuse it.
Well, wait, no. It has to. They had to open up, like,
Right.
because yeah.
I mean, it did. They traveled to the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah.
But we never see that effect, which is a weird thing for this show that started with the Bajoran wormhole being such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it opens in the title credits, but that's it, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're trying to, If they had cut down like 2 minutes of that Vic song at the end and just maybe showed maybe a runabout.
Oh my God, that Vic song.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I cannot...
Sorry.
I can't believe they took the time to do that.
I know. I
like,
mean,
that was not worth it. That's just...
They wanted to sit with it, and music can have an emotional effect if you like the songs, I guess, and it's nice, slow down. But no, like you could have spent that time showing the wormhole, yeah.
Or just deal with Sisko's exit better.
Yeah, right.
We need 3.5 minutes of Vic singing, everybody. Really? I think we could use some work on the Sisko stuff. No. 3.5 minutes of Vic singing. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe one scene where, Cassidy... No, Vic singing.
Vic singing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The barrel of 2309 for whoever wins the space fight and gets on the planet, blah, blah, blah. Damar's handsome.
Yeah, that was kind of a bummer, wasn't it? When they were on Cardassia. I think they did a good job of making us feel like that the victory was kind of...
Right.
Didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And also, humanity kind of came off kind of lame. Like, we don't know how to party.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. There's a thermal detonator, little Star Wars thing that Mila's dies. They get captured. The Jem'Hadar are kamikazing against blah, blah, blah. O'Brien gets his shoulder hurt because, that's a little Easter, because he's always blowing out his shoulder when he's kayaking, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I do think it's get him to sick bay, and I'm like, dude, you're like gonna die. Like what? Like literally. Like I think the best chance of O'Brien not dying is him like doing his fucking job at running the spaceship. So,
right.
like,
Maybe if that wound seemed more grievous, but he's like, well, he seems. He's bearing through it, so it seems like he's doing his job.
Moving him to sick bay, like I'm not saying that you don't pull people, like, but there is like you're literally in the middle of a space fight.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so we have to move him there, but it's like no,
you have to move him to get someone else in that chair, then you move him. But like, yeah, there's not like that little thing. He was like, no, I can stay here, and I'm like, no, you. Well, like what? Like why? Like I'm assuming he was doing a job at a high level over there, and if he's not doing that job, maybe you're fucked, and then he would die because he would explode. So, I don't know, but
no, you're not wrong.
I just felt like it was. It was all right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it was fine, but yeah, if it seemed like he was not doing his job as well, or he was going to die if they didn't take him to sick bay, that might have upped the stakes a little bit. But it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to murder any last words. Final words are not permitted, and the Cardassians flip and save the terrorist crew and reawaken that patriotic spirit. And yeah.
It's like that scene in The Rocketeer where the mafia guys help the Rocketeer fight the Nazi guys.
Yeah. I like The Rocketeer. I haven't seen it since I was 11, but I think I like The Rocketeer.
Yeah, I remember it being all right.
I watched it after I saw Captain America, the first one that was directed by the Rocketeer director.
Oh.
Right. Yeah, and I watched it then, and it held up. It was good. It was
Did it really?
Captain America. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I guess a pretty good actor. And I mean, Jennifer Connelly's in it. Fucking Alan Arkin is in it. Paul Sorvino. Like, it's got Timothy. Is it Timothy Dalton?
Timothy Dalton is the bad guy, right?
Is Errol Flynn, but a Nazi. It's amazing.
Yeah. I remember being, like, as a kid, just being obsessed with it when, just thinking how it was great.
It never really explains how it doesn't burn his asshole off, but other than that, it works pretty fine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I liked it when I was 11 too, but I did have that same question. How come his asshole is still intact? Yeah.
Man, I must have not been that great a critical thinker when I was 11 because I didn't give it a second thought.
No, you're just an 11-year-old. You're like, clearly he's got an asbestos suit on, and he's fine. Oh, I wrote all this shit down. Lano Kala, Bosher, Lanu, Novala, Parat, Karana, Mokado, Bajab, Kose, Nuso, Makora, Kajani, Lano Kala, Kos, Emojin, Fire. Oh, sorry.
That's going to go in the remake.
This stuff is so dumb.
It's pretty bad.
It is the epitome of dumb. And I mean, I don't know.
Who is this for? Because even if you like the Bajoran stuff, you got it. Like, this isn't satisfying, right? There aren't those people who love the rich culture of Bajor, they don't like this silly devil worshipping stuff.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
Okay, there's nobody who likes this. Even the most
can't imagine.
diehard,
Yeah.
the most diehard Deep Space Nine fans admit that this is garbage, right?
I don't know. If you have strong feelings, give us a call, 917-408-3898. I don't know if we're gonna listen to that or not. Well, I'll listen to it, but we'll have to talk about what we're doing with that shit later.
But I mean, there is no thought to this. It's just they get down there, they say, "You the devil," there's no reason what they're doing. It's just pure dumb. It's just dumb.
It's just
dumb.
they're just ticking boxes that they broke. Is like, this is what's going to happen, and it's like, well, they decided this is what's going to happen with this plot line, but they never stopped to think why.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is like I don't know. I mean, like, there's zero stake. I mean, there's stakes, but like we don't see them or feel them. Like there's no like.
We eventually know it's going to be Unleashed, Event Horizon. Hell's going to take out the entire universe or something. But it's like, when you have stakes that big, it's dumb. Star Trek Discovery.
Why didn't they tie it in so that they could at least borrow the stakes from the Dominion War?
I think they're just too busy.
So why didn't they just sort of weave that like somehow Sisko's, they're all got to do a job. Maybe Sisko, like, why did you this?
Yeah,
is
why
just,
didn't you do a good job, writers? Why didn't you just
dumb?
Yeah, I mean,
and there's
why did
no
they have to
stakes.
do it at all? Like they didn't.
Yeah,
nobody was asking for more Bajoran. Like Paul, nobody was asking for more Bajoran stuff.
no, but the first episode of the show set up Bajoran stuff. You have to resolve this Bajoran stuff at the end of it. And no one's heart is in it, but they just felt like they had to do it. It feels like,
But you don't have to do it with these characters, is my point. You had Dekant and you had Kai Wynn, and you didn't have to have them be these vaudevillian villains.
Right. Yeah.
To do that. You could, like James said, you could have tied up the Destiny stuff with the Dominion War.
Right. I mean, yeah, they could have, they should have.
There could have been a Dominion War battle on Bajor that Sisko factored into somehow. I mean, there's a lot of
Pa Wraith somehow aligned with the Dominion.
I mean, no, get out of here with all that nonsense. You could have just.
I mean,
nobody said that this thing had to end with Pa Wraiths. I guess they set up that.
Yeah.
They set up that they set up that the wormhole aliens had some sort of plan for Sisko. That's it. That's all you had to come through.
I mean,
you know what you could have. You're
totally right. Yeah, but it's like my dad trying to teach me golf. Like, why don't you do this? I'm trying to do it. Like, why didn't you do a good job? Just do a good job. It's like, well, they were trying to. They just didn't.
Well, they could have. One of the things they could have done is called back to in the first episode. What was Sisko's job? It was to bring Bajor into the Federation, which he didn't do. So it's like he didn't even get to do his fucking job.
This whole series is he did his job because he switched bosses basically. That's what the show is really about, a Federation captain who becomes a religious fanatic.
Yes,
and that's it. That's what Deep Space Nine is about.
And the friends we made
along the way. It's definitely the friends we made along the way.
And the friends we've made along the way. Yeah,
I mean that's the biggest theme of this whole episode is saying goodbye to the friends we made along the way, and sometimes it works if you're not heartless, I guess. But sometimes it doesn't work as well for some people.
Kira, ultimately they don't botch Kira's story, right? And I do think.
Well, wait a minute. I do think.
Oh, okay. Now I'm interested in this.
I don't think she's botched. I do think that she's sleeping through this. Like the energy level on this was pretty tepid. I think that Odo is a bad boyfriend.
Sure.
I think that watching all those Odo Kira scenes, you think that maybe that Kira deserves better.
Right.
Then Odo.
How they didn't botch it because for the most part, she's not even thinking about Odo. She's thinking about how she's gonna not die and take down the occupation. Unlike Ezri, she gets to think about doing like space adventure shit instead of. It's not until the end that she gets to mope about her boyfriend.
It's not like our friend Jadzia who spends not Jadzia, but our friend Dax who spends the end of the series. Who spends the end of the series? Captain, you have a call.
Right.
Captain, do you need more coffee?
Yeah, right.
Why was she back in her Bajoran uniform?
Because
I think because she went back to work for the Federation as. But
I thought she had a Starfleet commission.
it's just a wartime commission. You know, she's there for that job. She has a contract. She's not.
She changed jobs.
She had 3 pins. She was a whatever commander or.
But
Colonel.
I mean, her allegiance is ultimately to Bajor, so she goes back to working for them, right?
Yeah.
I guess we didn't have a scene though, Wade, where she says anything about that. Or a line. I mean, we got 3.5 minutes of Vic singing.
Yeah,
but
I know enough about her to know that's the case. But yeah,
sure. I mean, I know enough about it too. I'm just saying that's some sloppy, underserved stuff.
I mean, there's a big time jump. There's a lot of stuff that happens. Yeah, between when Sisko disappears and the back half of after the post montage and everything, there's a considerable amount of time. I think.
How much time do you think?
Long enough to
You don't see baby Sisko. That would have been a thing. You don't see little.
Don't.
Yeah. So I mean, that would have been some way to show a passage of time.
Yeah, but yeah, there's enough time for normalcy to return, and this is the new routine on the station. The more things change, the more they seem.
I would have liked to have seen Willie Mays Sisko.
Yeah. Is that in the books? Is that his name?
No. I would have liked to have seen the 6 feet under thing where you follow and you watch every one of them die.
Lano Kala Bosher Lana no. So I write down more. I won't do it.
There's more.
Is there more? Mik Rak Dorat Paran Yelin Cha Odo Kostamojan Shentashel Terra Nova Duran. Yeah. And that's not even the end.
Looked and that I don't know, man. Oh.
Yeah, they lost 3 dead and 8 wounded in the battle. And they're gonna go. We're gonna go storm the castle with the terrorist squad. And isn't it funny how we're gonna storm the castle and slay the Dominion beast in its lair, and we can't get inside, and they just have a laugh.
Have them send the shapeshifter out to us.
And I was like, it's not really funny.
That scene was awful.
I get that y'all are under stress, but come on. Yeah, it wasn't great. It's like, no, I get that y'all. We're laughing at the absurdity of it all, but it was kind of weak. Then the doors open because they can't kill Broca inside. They have to get blood everywhere. Take that shit outside, and that's when the doors open.
So then we don't have to film it. We don't have to do it. Yeah. It's clean.
Because they're made out of neutronium, those doors. Because they're like, oh shit, and that's when whatever. Mm-hmm. What's wrong?
What's wrong?
I'm dying.
I'm dying. That's wrong.
That's the line the sex grandma has. I'm going to die as a solid. You're the only solid I've ever trusted. And he's like, oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, the way you talking to his boss scenes were sort of pitiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, pitiful in that Jeffrey Combs is very good at playing pitiful.
He is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not quite sure the point of that scene either, just to see him grovel and kiss up to the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Wayne did.
I think
it's just because people like to see.
Yeah, I think they were trying to give everybody a moment, you know?
Right.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Yeah. Damar gets a moment where they're in the hallway and he gets shot, and his final words are, keep. And he's dead. Keep going, I guess. More weight.
Yeah, he says he doesn't, that was an ad lib.
Oh, really?
From Casey Biggs, and he goes, I don't know what he's going to say at the end. It really is like that's on Memory Alpha.
Oh, really? Well, for freedom, for Cardassia. And he has a Braveheart. They all have a Braveheart moment, I guess. Then they take over the Fed. Yeah. There's only a handful of guards because they all are. Wayun sent them all out to go just genocide the Cardassians. Then the Alliance is going over to free Cardassia, and the Klingons are taking a big fight, and the Federation is just like, we'll just stay out here in orbit and take out the orbital weapons platforms. Well, they're going to lose a bunch of casualties, up to 40%, and more where the ground forces take Cardassia because it's the space future and ground forces. You know, we mentioned before, like, why isn't everything just robots? But it's because that's not interesting, I guess. Or Star Trek didn't predict that much. So Garak kills the final last. That was my last Wayun. And then she's refusing. We will fight to the last man. You will fall. You know, victory. You might win, but the taste will taste of as bitter as defeat. And then Odo's going to beam down finally, and Sisko calls. He's all right. Oh, here you go, Commander Kira. It's like I thought she was a colonel, but whatever. That's fine. He calls her Commander.
That's true.
Yeah. It's like wait, call her by her proper title. She's Colonel. Is Colonel higher than a commander?
No.
I don't know.
No, Commander's higher.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So
She's Commander. Yeah. I'm not a troop.
This isn't the Civil War, James. This is Bajor. You don't know that.
That's true. I don't. But I mean, generally, yeah. I think the commander is right under the captain.
Of course, you're right. It's just a dumb.
Riker's a commander.
Yeah.
Sisko was commander when the show started. So yeah.
So she's the commander of that mission, I guess. So whatever. And then the poison cup. Now who cares about Kai and Dukat? He drinks the poison, and does he die? Maybe.
This is so dumb.
Odo's talking to Sex Grandma about, this is kind of the thesis statement of DS9 almost. Like, I'm well aware that the Federation has its flaws, but you know what?
Believe me, I'm well aware that the Federation has its flaws. But a desire for conquest isn't one of them.
So that's almost an anti-colonial thing that kind of clashes with a lot of other Star Trek out there. But, whatever.
It's not in them. Except for when they give us all this disease that's killing us. And
right. Well, that's not the Federation. That's Section 30. Well, whatever. They're not trying to. The Klingons and the
that's a tidy arrangement.
yeah. Odo pointed that out himself.
They have the cure. They're not giving it. That's the same as.
Right. Yeah, but Sisko lets him beam down, and he's gonna give Odo's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you the cure," and Garak is like, "Fuck that noise," and he's like, "Hey, babe, tell Garak that it's okay. Nerys, shut up and watch me fuck my sex grandma." And Nerys is like,
"Yep,
okay."
Sid, put it down.
Garak. I like how unhinged Garak becomes in that scene.
Yeah, right.
Aren't you fucking kidding me?
That was.
I'm gonna make my.
He brought Andrew Robinson. One thing about him, he always knew what to bring to the scenes.
Oh yeah,
throughout the whole series, he was never wrong. He never had a bad, offering to the table. And he knew exactly that. His level of anxiety about them going, linking up was completely appropriate to the scene.
Mm-hmm. And then they link real fast. It's like, all right, no biggie. It's done now. And she calls off the battle. And it's like, oh, she's agreed to stand trial. No need for her to, and they're like, oh, she's not going to go back and cure the rest of the founders. Like, no, I'm going to go. And And then we have that scene that you talked about before here with the pour one out for my dead homies or whatever.
Yeah.
But Martok is like, this is fucking great. Come on, guys. And then Hand Sandwich and Sisko are like, this is kind of a bummer. These people are all dead.
Honestly, every time I see Sisko and Ham Sandwich in the same scene together, I feel like he just does whatever Sisko's doing.
Yeah.
He's for an admiral, he seems like an awful lot like a follower.
Right? What is there's some character in something where it's like the inept boss that can't do anything but just has the subordinate that's the guy behind the scenes.
You can say that they could have done that into that was the charisma of Benjamin Sisko. is that everybody just kind of like, like he's like Ferris Bueller or something, where everybody that knows him sort of bends to him. So, but yeah, no, they don't. It's just that they just hired a guy they were all comfortable with.
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
Right.
No.
Yeah, we won't toasted dead bodies over bodies or whatever. And, it's the humanist perspective, like, Sisko and the ham sandwich, it's commendable that they're like, no, I can't celebrate all this death and wanton destruction. But what's great about fucking Martok is like, oh, the humans, what he said, mutter something in Klingon.
Human pop. Got to judge.
And just like the shot where it's, it's a nice, like the smile that Martok has when it's a close up of him with this shit like devastation behind him. He's just smiling and relishing it and just pouring it, drinking the big glugging the wines. Like, see, that's what makes Klingons great. They
have a good time. They have a good time. They enjoy life and they have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's really like, that's like 80% to liking someone. Now somebody might have a good time in a way that you don't have a good time around him. So that's not like there's a compatibility issue, but like liking someone is mostly, so I think that's one of the continuing flaws of one of the things that I would change just about Star Trek, that I would inject into it is that there's not enough sort of good time. Like these people aren't like, and like I think it's somehow baked into the cake. They don't seem to be having like a lot of they don't seem to have like a lot of lives of the party.
Right.
And in a way that would translates, I think, to modern generations. I think that suave, like I think to a certain generation, Jonathan Frakes is charismatic and a fun guy to be around, but I don't think that translates to younger audiences. But I would inject more sort of life and good times and smiling. I don't know.
Right.
These captains should smile more.
Yeah. Come on, you'd look pretty if you smiled more. Ham sandwich.
They would.
But also it goes back to my thing about like what I like about the Klingons is that's what makes them not human. Like, it's right to be disgusted with this death and destruction, but the Klingons, they're different in that they do like it. That's like, and the show is like, you know what, that Klingon's going to Klingon, and that's fine, even though it's kind of fucked up if the humans were that way. But you know what, they're Klingons. That's just how they are.
Mm-hmm.
Infinite diversity, I guess.
Yeah.
Insufferable Federation optimism. With the Garak scene where Garak is like, what the fuck is going on with Garak and Julian, where Julian, like, I thought Alexander Siddiq's performance was fine. He wasn't the guiding thing in the scene, which is fine. His reaction of just being a sad piece of shit, like, oh, this is awful. 800 million people are dead. That's a lot of dead Cardassians, and that's, and
Cardassia will survive. Oh, please, Doctor. Spare me your insufferable Federation optimism. Of course it'll survive. But not as the Cardassia I knew.
This is a rich culture, second to none, all our arts and literature, and it was the best culture. It was a full culture, and it's like, well, maybe their literature sucked, according to Julian or whatever. But for Garak,
he's a fan. He's a fan, so he's upset. Yeah.
That whole spiel with Garak, where he's figuring out how he's going to move forward, is pretty great. Yeah, I don't have any other insight other than great. Garak is pretty great.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting. No,
not what I said earlier.
Yeah. And then we go back to the boardroom on DS9, where all the most monumental shit happens in the most boring of conference rooms.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They sign the Dominion War Treaty, and then a Great War 400 years ago.
On paper too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. It's 400 years ago in a costly war, and then they give a big speech of, what's that speech from? That the ham sandwich gives? It's like at the end of World War II or something. I don't know.
Oh, I don't remember.
Rom could buy a bar by a thumbprint scan, but a war's got to be ended with a goo person signing a piece of paper.
I don't trust her fingerprints, right?
Yes.
just sign this X. Yeah, and then she goes off to jail, I guess.
That's right. It is sort of unimaginative. That whole sequence. It's just like the first thing, just like, oh, they signed a piece of paper, like at the Civil War or something. And so there's a desk and yeah, it's not.
I need to know what war that quote is from.
I'll tell you, Dollars to Donuts, because it's written by baby boomers who are got the cloud of the Greatest Generation like hanging over them at all times. It's probably from World War II. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah. No. Of course it's Douglas MacArthur at Tokyo Bay after Japan surrendered.
Oh yeah.
All right. See.
So yeah, there you go. So that's covered.
Called it.
All good.
Yeah. And then we're back at y'all's favorite late addition to the show.
Oh yeah, it's
Vic
like
Fontaine.
this. Okay, well, it's okay. So it's like it's over,
Right.
and then like you're like, oh, like all these threads are. Oh no! Whose music do I hear? It's the parades.
Right.
And you're just like, oh my god! Like I don't know. It was a mind-boggling of a momentum suck. I'm like.
Well,
But
they're slowing it down to say goodbye to everybody. Yeah, the song was. I'm not gonna say that. I think the song should have at least been a lot shorter, fit more in your runtime that you could have done. Though I do like there's a little bit of humor yucks with O'Brien's like, oh, where we don't know we're gonna live yet, and Worf's like, Minsk is nice, and they're like, no, how about New Orleans? Minsk. Paris is good, Cassidy says. And it's like, no, Minsk. That
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. I found that amusing.
Yeah. Let Worf have a bit.
Yeah, it was a good bit.
Yeah, it was fine.
One time in the entire series.
Yeah. Well, he's had a few bits in this one, but that was the best one, where he's like, "Oh, I'm going to kill him," and Jadzia said, "I don't have a sense of humor." The one call out that Jadzia gets in this whole episode.
And Jadzia said I did not have a sense of humor.
Yes. She was actually on set for that party, I think. Yeah, she was on set for that.
Oh, really?
Because that is also the cast rap party.
Oh.
In Vic's, yeah. So she was there on
They
deck.
couldn't
She was
have
on-
Ezri pass in front of a mirror, then have Carrie Farrell
Right.
give it like a knowing wink in the reflection.
Yeah, just like she's keep like nodding and gives a thumbs up slowly. she just makes a hole and puts her finger in it and looks at Julian.
That is so on the nose that I'm surprised they didn't do it.
Yeah, well, because they wouldn't let her get in any of the montage either, because the producer.
There's so much bad
Yeah.
feelings about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't want. Apparently, it's the whole thing. They didn't want to pay for the rights or something, because they would have had to give her money if they used her image or something. And
Yeah, they were pretty fucking skinflint. I mean, that's the whole story of like when Enterprise was pitched to Paul was supposed to be to Pal.
Right.
But in order to do that, they'd had to pay the original writer of Amok Time $1 or something. And so they were like, fuck it, we'll make the same character but with a different,
Right.
And so
We'll change a vowel. And that's it.
we'll change a vowel. Very clever. So
Yeah. Kira is like, "Oh, you're going back when? Oh, soon." Odo says, and it's like, "Well, you're coming back?" It's like, "I could, but no, I won't." And it's like, okay, that's cold. She's gonna take him back to Goo Planet. Yeah, nothing less together. The dumb song. They got Keiko to show up at the beginning of this episode, but they couldn't even invite her to the rap party or get her on screen there at the end.
oh my god, yeah. I don't know, there's some bad blood there too, I think. So,
Really? Yeah, they do all this work to get Ezri hooked up with Julian, and then at the final scene, the seating arrangement is Worf and Ezri, then O'Brien on the other side of Ezri, and Julian's just sitting there like with his thumb up his ass. I don't know what he's doing, but it's like he's not even with his girl. More Costa-Mojan talk. Dorato call Petri Prafran.
Costa-Mojan, come to me!
And then back to the party. And then, Sisko has a vision, and he has to go off and go to a phone booth to be Superman or something, and steals a runabout, or takes a runabout. He's the captain. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, I guess. But, like, come on, man. How fast did he get to Beijing? Like, just like it was disco time cuts here. Like, it was like, all right, now he's on the planet.
Well, you don't know the sync from what happened, like when the sync up to what happens in the fire cave syncs with.
You're right. You don't. I have no clue because it happened in like I don't know how. Yeah, yeah. The sync is weird.
Yeah, it may be that the Pyraith storyline could have been better thought out.
Yeah, never. No, it's perfect as. Yeah, no, it could have been tightened up a little bit there. Yeah,
it could have been. Yeah.
Sisko fights the Balrog. She lets her hair down, and then they don't know where he is.
Some dumb, like the whole point of Sisko is we just need you to bum. Like we did all of this shit to bring you here to bum rush a motherfucker.
Right.
That's what Sisko's whole thing. They just needed someone to get there and bum rush a motherfucker.
And the book.
That's destiny.
Well, he had to kill the book somehow, but dude, how does he do that? By bum rushing it.
Yeah.
Once Gollum, Kai Wynn has the proverbial diving into the lake of fire, except she gets the book and she gets disintegrated by the Sith Lord or something.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's a little weak sauce that plot, and everybody gets a montage.
How long? Whoa! That we're also 1 year away from that.
Oh,
from Lord of the Rings, like because that was 2000. The first one came out, Because I remember, because the second one was called The Two Towers. It was coming out the summer of 2002.
No, that was a little rough time
so
for that.
That was like Is this weird? Is this weird? We had a whole national conversation about. Are we doing this? Are we really doing this?
Right. It's a little weird, isn't it, guys? No. It's yeah. I was in New York at that time. Okay.
There you go.
Not well. 2002 I was.
In the crater of the Two Towers. Yeah, no, I went and visited you there, yeah.
Yeah.
Only time I've been to New York was that summer. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, everybody gets a montage, except most of them are like in the last 2 seasons, and for Ezri gets just Ezri cuts, and that's a little awkward. It did not go unnoticed by the fans at large that Jadzia did not get into that montage.
No.
The Quark, hey Odo, you're just gonna get the fuck out of here without saying bye, and like, what? You're not gonna tell me that you love me, that you respect me? And it's like, nope. And Kira's like, it's okay. And then like Quark is like, nah, that asshole loves me. You can see it in his back.
What are you talking about? That man loves me.
I mean, that was fine enough way for them to leave things. They don't, they have an understanding,
I guess,
between the two of them.
I mean, which ones do, let's get to the end, I guess.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's most of the end. And then, they get in the shuttle, they go to the goo planet, and they're like, we don't, like, take 5 seconds out of that dumbass song just to do a quick, like, wormhole cut. Show a runabout going into the wormhole before they show up on the goo planet. And look, there's some little bit, it just works better. It would just be a transition cut. That's all. It was just a weird, jarring.
Rick Berman, we kickers of elves like looking at holes.
Right.
When we promised that we're going to see some holes, and we don't see holes.
We see some holes in the plot, but not the holes we need. There's them gaping space holes that open up. Takes things inside of it.
I'm working on a goatsy joke, but nothing's good.
All right. That's how we need to end this
podcast
with the most obscenity that we can do.
Would you guys want to guess what the people of IMDb think of this episode?
Wait. I was gonna say, are we at the end?
Morn has some Rogaine. I'm gonna miss you most of all. It's going to be you, Kira, and then he goes and then goos it up. Puts on a tux because she loves him in a tux, I guess. And Julian can't go to the anvil. And then there's a time cut of indeterminate length when things have gotten back to the status quo. Kira is in her Bajoran uniform in the office with the baseball.
That's right.
Julian can't go to the Alamo because that was where me and O'Brien went to... that's where he went with his boyfriend, was to the Alamo, but he can play 300 with Ezri at the, do the Spartan thing. And and she cracks it as annihilation fantasies. He needs to see a counselor, and a little bit of the in and out. And Kira shuts down a betting pool for the new Kai. Money's on Vedic Ungtre. And then the final shot is Kira and Jake. Biggest moment, I guess, of the episode for Jake, is other than crying at his dad's doll furniture, it's a pretty nice closing shot of the series, though, where it's them at the window on the promenade, and then it pulls out slowly. The best computer effects that 1999 could offer, to where it's just a pullback to the this little station in the galaxy, the Milky Way or whatever behind it. I thought that was a nice ending, closing shot of the show. The end.
Sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah. It was nice. I mean,
yeah.
It was all right. It was like good. It was like half good. This whole thing was half good.
Yeah.
I was a little bummed to say goodbye to my space friends.
No, I agree. So that's what I was actually going to quantitative it. Okay, so with our core characters, if we could just sort of go down and say, are we satisfied with where they ended?
Right.
And I am with Sisko, would we just say yes or no, we're satisfied?
No, I would say no.
I think we're going to go with no, right?
No,
we're going to go... Are you going to go down the line in order of rank or whatever?
Well, I don't know. I just thought
alphabetical,
because
please.
I was going to do if you could quantitative it, how many of them had satisfying conclusion of the core characters,
right?
And because I think Kira does,
right?
I think Odo does.
Yeah.
Would we all say that?
With having him have to go back to his people.
I guess he's going to liberate his goo. He's going to liberate his goo people. So from their own whatevers.
He dumped his girlfriend.
And he has to say goodbye to everybody. Yeah.
It was the first wife you have before you become who you are. You got to shed that. Before you were famous, you got to get rid of that wife. And so, that's what he's like, hey, baby. It's time for me to...
Yeah, she's like, will you come back? It's like, nah, we both know I ain't coming back.
That's his, like Johnny Cash's first wife is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, he looked at her, he goes, I gotta be with my people.
Right.
And then, yes. So...
I know my June Carter is in that goo puddle somewhere, so...
Yeah, so I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
I suppose I like O'Brien's.
I was going to say O'Brien, yeah.
What was O'Brien's point of this being in the series other than, his entire character arc was he didn't like a guy at work. And then he became best friends with the guy at work. Yes. And then he moved away from this guy.
Yeah, it's
can we just admit that of all of these actors, Cole Meany has had the best overall career of all of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's worked for decades. He's been consistent. He is always in stuff. Mm-hmm. He's built a pretty amazing career.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw him with Denzel on Broadway.
More than any else on the show. And his character is for 14 years of being on the show or whatever, from the first episodes of TNG till now. He got a job at it seems like he's had we spent the most amount of time with him, and that the show has cared the least about him.
Yeah.
And it's sort of strange given that the actor is amazing and capable and embodies the role, and he's been with us for so long. It's weird that he has so little to do. He just breaks up with his boyfriend.
I think if the show's about the characters and he learns to go...
He has an interesting... The show's... O'Brien was brought on because he was supposed to add a level of, realism on what it's like to serve in the Federation and have a family. And then you never show the guy's family.
Yeah.
You just show him doing dumb stuff with his dumb coworker. It's not a great... it wasn't a great move.
I think I'm a little bit more on board with, I do think Keiko...
You'll never be able to...
He's got a relationship with another lead of the show that takes focus. It's a bummer that his wife doesn't get more focus, but
yeah,
you have
You'll never convince me
leads,
that's a better trade-off.
But your leads of the ensemble are the relationship that ends up mattering more than his wife.
Not in an interesting way.
In a
sort of a dumb, jokey way that they have to like joke about.
That's your opinion, man. But I
guess,
yeah,
and I concur with that opinion.
Yeah, other people like it a little bit more, but
they may be. But I mean, it seems to me that from just like character growth perspective, and I like that he's like this. That's a character type. The guy who's just good natured and always the same. The Rock. Of a person. He doesn't go high, he doesn't go low. Hugh's high floor, low ceiling kind of guy, and that because that's like the bread and butter of like the world. Those kind of guys, I think probably most people like to think like most sort of working class people like to think that they're that kind of guy. And could see that in O'Brien, and it just seems it seems like you had all of the recipe there to have a really revealing character, and they just they never took the bait. They never knew what to like.
Yeah, I mean,
so at the end, you have these two characters where the only thing that they have is that they are friends. Mm-hmm. But there's not particularly like a show could get a lot of mileage out of a black guy and a white guy being friends because that would inform some sort of social commentary.
Not everything has to be.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's not anything, and so sometimes there's the easy way of making it have social commentary.
Sure,
but like this is just like I don't know. Like there's not. Like they don't like. I don't know. I just felt like it was just yuck.
We've defined Star Trek previously as what is Star Trek. It's about like adventures and hanging out with your space friends, and this is like their space friends, and a focus of the show of their relationship being about the space friends relationship. That's a choice that is a finding a choice for me.
That wasn't my particular definition. Mine was solving problems with your space friends.
Yeah,
problem
creativity of the solver.
And they almost never do that in this show. Yeah. They almost never do that in the show.
That's fine, but you can broaden that out. The space friends is like since the original series, it's all about space friends. That's what Star Trek is.
Okay, so can you tell, is there a TNG character that has less character growth than than O'Brien in DS9? Like a core character.
A character in TO and TNG.
In TNG, that main character, so not like O'Brien, but like Worf, like Riker, Marina Sirtis,
has less
all of
growth
those
than DS.
All of those over the course of those 7 years had grown more as characters and had you had felt like that you had passed through stages of their life and arcs of their life, and I just don't feel that with. I feel that with Kira. I feel that with Odo. I feel that with Worf and just Jedzia is a mess, or Dax is a mess, but I mean, I just don't feel that with O'Brien.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I feel like...
So, I mean, your question was, did anybody in TNG not grow as much as O'Brien doesn't grow in DS9? Is that what your question was?
Does anyone in TNG have less growth than O'Brien does in DS9?
Geordi doesn't really grow that much, for instance.
That's true.
Feel like, yeah.
Geordi's whole thing is space friends with Data.
He's friends with Data, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, Miles and O'Brien's are the big space friends.
I mean, you're right. I mean, that is... I mean, they're both comparably underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so there's that. But I do agree that they could have done the stuff that y'all wanted to do, wish they'd done with O'Brien. They could have done that, and it would have been great. But, what they did with having it be more about Julian and him, it's a choice. And it's maybe there are better choices, but it's a choice that works well enough for me.
So mixed on O'Brien.
But overall, where he ends up with him going to be a teacher, that's a nice way to... That's a nice out for him to pull
No. It's earned. Yeah. It's it's a meritocracy. So we're good on O'Brien. So Dax.
Yeah.
Okay. So Julian, are we happy with where he ends up?
He just ends up with a girl breaking up with his friends.
Yeah. No. Julian's boring.
Yeah.
There's nothing. He's a nothing burger at the end of this.
Right.
He just sits there and reacts to things. So no.
Well, I guess
yeah.
what bothers me most about the Julian stuff is that it was almost as if the show felt like he was entitled to a woman.
Yeah.
And that's
It does, because he came off as the horn dog.
Don't worry, guys. Bashir gets a lady, guys.
Right.
Like that was sort of the promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's sort of, and so much so to the point that it's not even a believable thing, you know.
Yeah. I've never actually gone to battle with a girl I've fucked before, is like a line he has on the show. Like, okay, great. You got laid.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. I think that you're just supposed to be good job, good.
Yeah.
Good. Congrats on the sex.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So
They've struggled to figure out anything to do over this. They've struggled with Julian as a character the most, I feel like, of anybody. And then they struggled with this at the end. They're just like, I don't know. He just reacts to what the other people, his friends, are going on with their lives, and he's.
But he doesn't even. He's still got the same job.
I know, right? Yeah.
He doesn't get a promotion. So Worf, are we? I mean, I feel like the Worf being immersed more and more into the politics of Klingon is the arc for him. You know, only complicated by the fact that I think he's the security officer on the Enterprise and Nemesis 3 years later. So. You know,
Or Insurrection that comes out later that summer.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So,
and
so it goes.
We know from
you know.
the TNG finale that ends up being ambassador, and they're like, "All right, well, here's the ambassador. I guess he takes a step back, and then he gets."
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe he goes to vacation, and then that's when the Nemesis happened, or I don't know. So anyway, so I don't know. I find that I think that's a fine place to end it. I'm satisfied with Worf. Are we all?
He gets to go targ hunting with the Chancellor, and Martok's very excited to finally an ambassador I can actually have fun with.
Quark, I guess, is supposed to stay the same, and that's your sort of, you know, he's a constant.
Right.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. Okay, so like more than half of the cast has an unsatisfactory ending.
Oh, did you count Quark as unsatisfactory?
No, I mean I don't know. You sorta.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine.
I mean,
I guess Rom was satisfactory.
Yeah.
Rom has actually, like what James said at the beginning of our pod, tertiary characters have got treated very, very well.
Nog.
Nog, yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Rom, I guess Rom too. I mean, Rom and Nog both got full-blown arcs with Garak. Did they accidentally? I don't understand how they did these three characters so well, but muff everybody else.
I think that the show it seems to me that the show was so owned by Ira Steven Behr and Ira Steven Behr's interests and idiosyncrasies. And I think that he was drawn to certain characters, backed by Ronald D. Moore's draw to Martok and Worf. So you get this sort of perfect storm of these guys in control who didn't pitch the show. So, you know, Avery Brooks is a Michael Piller character. Even Kira is a Michael Piller character. But so as Ira Steven Behr took over the show, and as Ronald D. Moore came over, and Robert Hewitt Wolf came over, they just, you know, the show got taken over by people who weren't there in the original pitch.
Right.
And so you have, or was on J. Michael Straczynski's pitch.
Depending on who you believe, yeah.
So you have these guys coming into the party and, you know, making their own characters. That's what you do.
Right.
That's what every writer does, is that I feel like that, you know, I didn't create this character, but I like this one, so this one's getting all the play now.
Right.
And I feel like that was where it was. And so... And that's fine when you're watching it the first time, because you're right. You're watching Rom and Nog and Martok and Garak, and they're great.
And they have less of a spotlight on them too. So like, there's less focus or like pressure that you have to do something with these guys, and you can just like, let
you
them be.
can't. Yeah, you couldn't make O'Brien kill somebody because, he's on somebody's backpack,
Right.
That year. So,
Right. And their story can progress as it needs to progress. It's not like, we got to whip out Berman said we had to do a Martok story this week. It's like, no, nobody's telling them they have to do that,
Yeah. So I think that you have this. So that's why I think the interest was just the fire was there. But when you're all told, you do. But they also didn't cycle these characters out. So it's not like that. Like if they had felt like they had told all the stories they could tell with O'Brien at the end of season 4, and then he comes, and then, then you got Rom as your engineering representative in the cast. And, you can, whatever, I don't know, move around and get rid of some of these characters like big shows like Grey's Anatomy or something does.
Right.
But they didn't do that either. So, you just stuck with O'Brien,
Yeah.
being used for other interests than he was earlier in the show.
Right. Yeah. Was there anybody that we're missing?
No. So I'm just like, so just sort of thinking about it, you're just like, well, how successful was it as a conclusion? And I feel like that it's very dangerously mixed.
I think it's only as successful as the rest of the series
Yes.
as a conclusion. So I think, halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It broke new ground, but then, it other stuff was undercooked. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess that's the other question is like, all right, so now how do we feel with our central thesis when we started of this is a prequel and everything? You kind of stepped into it a little bit just then. James was like, all right.
Well, I think we should have a separate episode where we talk about the whole series,
the legacy
on the whole.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, the legacy.
I can do that. Okay.
I mean, we don't have to do it
right now.
We can do it in a couple weeks.
No,
or
I agree.
Right now, but yeah, I think we should. I think that should be the our epilogue or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Where we focus on our thesis and our overall thoughts on the series.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess that would be the next question. It's like, all right, now we're done with Deep Space Nine.
Well, are we? Yeah. Well, are we gonna? Because we were gonna rate this all as. Is that what you were gonna say? We were gonna rate it all as a 10-episode arc.
Oh well, sure. That's one place it could be going out. Yeah. What? No. Well.
Oh wait,
Okay.
I thought you guys were going to figure out what the IMDb people. Are you guys? Oh, you wanted to rate it as one episode, like your rewatch on one arc?
Yeah. Well, that was the idea you had 10
when we
weeks
started.
ago.
Yeah, I guess I would probably put this at like a 5. I might have a 50-50 chance of revisiting all this entire arc at some point.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I'd put it at I'd put it at a 6 or a 7. I might not watch all. I might skip around through it. Honestly, I'd skip maybe some of those early Bajor heavy episodes, especially knowing how the Bajor story fizzles out at the end.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go like a 3 or 4. Like I'm trying to think back on real memorable sequences or scenes.
Yeah.
And I mean it's pretty messy, brah. I guess I liked it when Worf killed Martok because Martok was being Morris Day from the
You
purple
mean Galron?
Galron, yes, Galron, not Martok. Yes, so I guess I like that a lot, but
Yeah.
and so like there's I was thinking about moments, scenes, but hey, it's not a ton of stuff.
Do you think there could be like a Topher Grace cut of this finale where you cut out all the Bajoran stuff, like where he famously recut the prequels into like a 90-minute movie that it actually works, that nobody's seen?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's overcooked. Yeah, I mean, you would have to cut the whole stuff out of the end, and then you're not. Are you leaving you got to culminate the emissary stuff from the early, from the whole show. So even if you cut it out,
Yeah. Have you ever tried to unmake soup type of situation?
that's what the situation is. Then then it's not satisfying as a conclusion on like the premise of the show.
Right.
Because at least we give Sisko an arc other than he won a war that he started, sort of like,
He didn't start that war.
No, I know, but I'm not, so you don't really, you need to sort of have a satisfying conclusion to all of the Bajor emissary wormhole alien shit.
Right.
And so if you cut that out, then it's there. And if you put that in there, it's a mess. And then it's a mess in other ways.
Right.
I mean, I guess the real tragedy is what if Jadzia was kept on as on the show, and maybe if they had plotted it smarter,
right?
Like that seems like with a and I don't just mean like write better. I'm not saying that, but it seemed like that they really did struggle with it. It seemed ultimately surprisingly underthought how it all fell together. And so
they're just writing one scene after the other. And then they've written them, and then
And so I think more proper planning.
Like
and
they didn't go back.
And because it also it doesn't give you time. This is my favorite clip that I shared with you guys know it because I've shared it with you maybe a couple times. Is David Lynch having a fucking fit on the set of Twin Peaks Return, and he's like, "We don't have any fucking time to plan. We don't have any time. We don't have time to get fucking dreamy." And so I felt like that was the show, is that they were working to it, and so they don't have a time to go, hey, we just do this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene. That could be boring. So do you want to is there a spice? Is there something we can add to it to sort of elevate this 10 minutes or 15 minutes? I don't feel like they're doing any of that kind of thinking.
Right.
I think that's just ideas to final script. And so, yeah, I think that's ultimately, those two things, poor planning and the lack of a major character, that story wasn't concluded in any real way and forced you to do dumb shit all season with another character. I think that's the real tragedy of the 7th season. But that's sort of my final thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, you're not wrong about any of that. Yeah, I felt a little bit, it was like, oh, I'm coming home from camp now, and I gotta leave all this stuff behind. And I mean, that's what you leave behind. So yeah.
I do feel like, I mean, I don't know if they did enough to make me want an 8th season.
No.
At this point,
no.
So I mean, obviously we think of it as a concluded thing, but in the moment, I felt like if I was a fan in 1999 of this, I felt like that I would think, yeah, get off the stage, finish your story,
Right. I would. That's what I feel like. It's perfect setup for a 20 years later 8th season kind of thing. Except, sorry, it's not going to happen. You get that documentary where they pitched, and that's as much as you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everything. We live in a world of reboots, remakes, and they're getting a sequel to The Last Starfighter, I heard. And
really? I love The Last Starfighter.
So,
they're counting on that, Wade. They're counting on it.
Yeah, it's just going to be
Hey,
me.
I remembered that. I love it.
Yeah.
And so you could, all the actors are, I don't know. But it wouldn't put it past me if Picard, the show, takes off. You could start seeing this kind of stuff rebooted or remade. And anything, as we watched a series of sequels made 20, 30, 40 years after the fact, we've had a whole slate of that. We got Top Gun Maverick coming out soon.
Right.
We're getting our old lady Punky Brewster. That's
We got our Fuller House.
And Picard, too. Everything is theoretically interesting to revisit.
Right.
Every character is interesting because life doesn't go the way you expect, and things can interrupt in the interim, and who you are as a young man is not who you are as an old man, and and stories about that are interesting, and so any story is potentially interesting to come back and revisit it. So yeah, I think in our minds it's always, it's always good because it's exactly how we picture it.
Yeah, that's a problem. In your mind, it's a great idea, and then execution is usually, it's not what people had in their mind, and then they end up disappointed.
Yeah. So I feel like if you had asked me early on, would I want to see this picked up or more of this? Of course I would have. Mm-hmm. I love Deep Space Nine. And it's maybe a testament to the years that we made this over, but I feel like I've had to watch a lot of things that I like being turned into something that makes me unhappy, not just either through sucking, like Star Trek Discovery, or being good, but the culture around it sucking. Star Wars.
Oh, so it's like Rick and Morty. What?
Rick and Morty. Star Wars more.
Yeah,
like Star Wars is an actual like just a bummer now. And then all of the sort of emptiness and shallowness about the culture, these sci-fi things that I loved that exist only because I have spending money and I was a nerd.
Right.
So like those two things make it sort of a perfect storm, and I don't know. So I think I don't want to see more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just because I don't want to see more of anything that I like now. Just for a while. I just want to take a pause.
Sure.
Like from giving me hey James, you remember when? Well, how about, that Mad Lib is now.
Yeah.
I don't want that for a while.
All right. Well, do you want to guess what the people of IMDb think of this episode?
I bet they fucking love it.
Oh, they fucking love it. I bet it's going to be in...
Dare we?
8 point...
What were you going to say?
I was going to say 8.7.
I was going to say 9.
It's at 8.7.
Whoa, shit.
Whoa! Finished it on a nailed it.
Oh,
He came
look
out
at my dismount there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
All right.
All right. Well,
so now that's the last thing. So when Donald Trump hears this episode, now he will just always remember that you got them all right.
That's right.
He was very great. He nailed them every week. I nailed them. Well, he nailed them sometimes. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wade, do you want to tell people how they can get a hold of us?
Yes, you still can. Get a hold of us, I believe, if you want to give us a call. And we got some calls to go through, I guess. At 917-408-3898. You can find us on Twitter at Kickers Podcast.
He's back end pod. This is when the fun begins. It's all the back end stuff.
Right.
No.
And also, but the best way is to give us money. We're done with all the episodes, but we'll keep going to patreon.com/kickersofels.
We have other offerings to offer you.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we have other podcasts. We got bonus podcasts and all sorts of stuff on there. Patreon.com/kickersofels. So yeah, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for Wade, James, and myself, 3 to beam out.
I want to thank you for it. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. What is that song? It's Carnival, right?
It's not.
Like that. That's the song that Michael Scott sings as he leaves. Yeah, it's the Natalie, but I think it's the Carnival. No,
it's not.
Yes, it's the parting song and everything. All right, I need to stop this recording.
Oh, yeah, me.
Oh, fuck, guys, I wasn't recording at all. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even buy that anymore.
Wow. You're still here? Is this the end? Well, I won't say goodbye now. I want the chance to hear you complain.
Lano Kala, Bolsher, Lanu, Novala, Parat, Karana, Mokado, Bajab, Kose, Nuso, Makora, Kajani, Lano Kala, Kos, Emojin, Fire. Oh, sorry. So, I write down more.
Oh, there's more?
Mik Rak, Dorat, Paran, Yelin Cha, Oro, Costa Mojan, She Tachel, Terra, Noval Duran. Yeah.
This was fucking gross.
Dorato Call, Petri, Paran.
Costa Mojan, come to me!
It's pretty bad.
It is the epitome of dumb.
Please don't leave me behind.